Uncensored. Dave Globin and Michael Anthony is here today.
Yeah, all around.
You're around, and I appreciate you coming. And it's anything and everything night,
Oh,
so
is it? Okay.
we can talk about anything.
Biblical references, religious references, political references. And from what I understand, you're concerned of gasoline taxes and costs.
Oh well, gasoline taxes and costs are are on the table because yesterday on a different broadcast, it seemed like they were telling me that all of the gas taxes are pretty much taxes that you already pay.
Yeah.
So, you know, the state is double dipping, the government is double dipping. I don't know.
Double dining, double, triple, yeah, everything. I mean, it's not fair.
No,
It's just not fair, and
no,
it's
it
what's
is.
going on. It's everywhere, and as the gas prices increase, productivity will increase. There's not a good reference forward to all of this unless the man up in Washington says enough is enough somehow and takes us in a new direction. But up till now, we're not seeing that.
We're not seeing that. Uh, I'm going to say something to you that I don't think I've said to you before. I'm starting to think that it is no longer Democrats versus Republicans or Republicans versus Democrats. It's now time to find the best person for the job. And I don't think either party knows what the best person is because if you listen to the Democrats talk today about Eric Swalwell, they knew it was a liability. At least they say they knew it was a liability, and they went with him anyway. They ran him for California's governor. They let him hold on to his seat as a representative in case he lost. And but they knew. And that's what makes no sense to me. They claimed they knew that he was a liability, and they kept him around anyway.
Well, that goes in reference to me when they use the blame game to point the finger wherever they need to because it works for them in that moment of reference. But yeah, whatever. I mean, we're inside a shit show, and it's not a show; it's a reality, and it should be a reality check to all of America that things like this are going to occur and continue to occur, and it doesn't seem to change is coming fast enough for the things that were promised, the things that we voted for. But again, a lot of us are still on board, just waiting in case this moment of war efforts and psychological warfares all have a different meaning of why they are being presented to the American people in the way that they are because of the separate and divide of MAGA now and the breakdown and the communication and the argumentative subjects that just keep coming into play. We need to find a neutral ground. I don't think we're going to get it the way people think we are. But, I wish them well in their thoughts on the ones who double down on us and say we don't know what we're talking about. We should just jump to the left. Well, I don't think there's a good left. I don't think there's a good right. I think there's something lost, and it's in the middle. And whatever it is, for whatever reason it is, it needs to be broke apart now, and change needs to come and with efforts all to help the American people out more instead of keep putting us into the gray area where we hear, well, people have never received so much money through income tax before. I would say that's probably bullshit, but
I
I
think
would say that there's probably some truth.
somebody's received some money, but I mean, the people that I know that I talked to about it, their income tax returns not bigger. They never got that $2,000 check that Trump talked about,
Right.
and all my Democrat friends told me, no, you'd never see it, and they seem to be true. We never saw it. We're hoping for it. They continue to borrow from Medicare and Social Security as they want to. Uh, Another one of my big things is that those people make $174,000 a year plus, and think how much we could save if we weren't paying a lot of them who have been there forever.
Right. And my thought of is like this: if we could take them back to all these positions to pay only, not in a way of reference, but pay only to them a minimum wage salary, watch how many of them wouldn't even run for political offices, and watch how many of them wouldn't even want to have the job any longer. They would give it up. If they had to give everything up that we have to give everything up for right now in this time, then maybe they would understand our pain.
Yeah.
But unless somebody does it, unless somebody tries, which it'll never get written into a law that we change the salaries on all Senate and all Congress and White House administrative staffs and cabinet members. Watch how fast the whole sanction of everything that's there falls apart, because it is a money game, no matter how you look at it. And because Donald Trump gives up his salary, does not mean he's not making billions right now in this world.
He's getting paid the presidential salary. According to the rules of the game, he has to get the paycheck, the quarterly paycheck or whatever it is, he has to get. He can take it and do whatever he wants to do with it. By all means, he's allowed to spend his money however he wants. So, yes, he is giving his money away. I understand that. But I'm tired of the people who tell me he does not get paid to do the job that he does.
Yeah, he may have to receive it, but at the same time, he's telling us he's donating it all. And that's a great thing. But is he really losing? Is he really working for free? Or is there some other types of benefits that come with the seat of presidency? And right now, I would say he's probably earning more than he's ever done in his life.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's take on that for a second. I mean, he's a world-class real estate developer, and he's traveling the world on USA Business all the time and probably scouting out locations that are good for him for future expansion and getting into deals with the Saudis that I thought Jared Kushner,
right,
his son-in-law, Ivanka's husband, was supposedly in bed with the Saudis on something, and then we all of a sudden heard they weren't, and then in here that they aren't. It doesn't mean to me that the Saudis are going to stop doing whatever they were doing. That just probably realize they've got trillions of dollars and they probably don't need him or his son-in-law.
There's favoritisms as to why things happen the way that they do. And we know that they want to revitalize the whole area, but for what means is the true narrative behind them seeing that they want to do that? Is it really about the oil? Is it something greater? Is it something lesser of value? I don't know. I mean, but we do know that we have seen, and I'm not going to say caught red-handed anybody, but we do see where some of these things come into question. But remember, the minute you question, you're a Marjorie Taylor Greene or you're a Tucker. Don't question the man, so to speak. Otherwise, you'll be ousted, and that's just the way it'll go. I don't think that's fair, especially when the president himself wants to have his own right to freedom of speech, but we're not allowed to have it on our side. Well, and we get victimized from it now. And that's not the guy that we initially voted for. And I even went back, Dave, and I watched videos upon videos of his recampaigning for the second term. And I'm not talking about the win-lose system that occurred in 2020. Because that was something different. And I know we need to do get the hiccups out of all the work and come up with a better strategy on how we can protect the integrity of the elections in the future. I will never disagree with that. The problem is when you see what you're seeing now, how do you pick a good candidate? How do you pick anything when you're hearing things that railroad the whole system of promise? And that's just how I see it. And I think a lot of people are catching on to that too.
We are. Like I said, this is the first time in my 64 years that it's like It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about who is right for the position that we need, and kind of embracing the melting pot theory before, where everybody's mad at the Muslims, but hey, there are good Muslims that came to America and became citizens and are doing a bang up job.
Yeah.
In what they do. But unfortunately, yes, there are a lot of radicalized that got in here too. And
yeah,
what do you do?
Not much of anything, but sit back and watch the shit show unfold, because none of us truly know where it's going to head to and what the end result will be. You can have faith or hope, which neither one gives you anything of structure, but they're just words that create terminology to simply have faith. But have faith how? Who? Why? Where? When? And that's the subject matter that's the biggest point of the problem right now that we're facing, where we're arguing amongst each other in ways. And all we're trying to do is enlighten, because knowledge is the true gift. Right. Jesus Christ, he has a first name that was given to him, but the true name is Yeshua. Christ means what, Dave? Do you know what Christ means? No, wait, it's not Jesus' last name, but it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is consciousness, knowledge. Okay. I really feel that he was like us, somebody that fought a system to try to bring a system into some type of light and control. And he wasn't, because of that, he spoke out against them, is why things had occurred in that man's life. But if you look from his youngest age to a period of age, he wasn't even in the picture. And then when you look at some of the picture of some of the books and you question where did he go, he went MIA again. So, what was he doing? What was he learning? What was he achieving? And what was he trying to tell people? And now people go by the belief of a book rather than the belief of true knowledge. However, there is no true knowledge to something, because none of us, not even the ones that wrote the book, were there to even confirm it or in some way say to everybody in the world, this is confirmation, this is what we have, this is who we are. And who we are has become the monsters of a human population. And that's what we have always been up against, these monsters from the earliest of ancient times all the way now into the present. What we'll bring to the future is going to be the hardships. And you know what, Dave? You may not remember this. We did a show, maybe 2. I'm going to say 5 years ago.
Oh, God.
6 years ago. And we were seeing things that weren't making sense. And we both kind of went on that rabbit hole of what does it all mean? Or is he just here to deliver us from evil? And that was the topic of the show, how we were trying to break it down to remember and utilize the information that we were witnessing. And now here we are, in a way, being led down a road of where protect the evil, protect the pedophiles, increase the taxes on humanity, which is happening all across the board in many states, and especially in blue. But it's all a compromise as to everything that we were promised. So the unkept issues are the ones that I think we were registered why we did the show the way we did, because we saw 5 years ago that it wasn't going to make sense today.
It still doesn't make sense today. Matter of fact, I wake up in the morning and I decide, it's just not worth playing the game anymore. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to play the game. But I just don't, you can only do so much to try to help. I do want to say good evening to Gerard K. Michaels, Jerry Michaels from the American Rebellion, who was helpful in passing the broadcast around. And I very much appreciate that. We're live on my profile on Facebook, and we're live on the Boogie with the Bully YouTube channel, which is very easy to remember because it's www.youtube.com/@shifted to Dave Logan. And we'll pass it around the interworld web thingy after the broadcast. I pass it to some groups, and I'll try to pass it to more as we go. So where are we, Mr. Michael?
Just verifying with you a conversation that we had 5 years ago,
We did.
and also that I had with other people doing the strange, the mysterious, and the lost. And when they asked me certain things about what I saw or where I thought, how I thought things would happen, I truly told them as honestly as I could, you don't want to know what I think is going to actually occur. And it wasn't that I was thinking, I knew it was going to go in this direction, that it wouldn't have an exact or precise way of measuring the gray areas that really help the humanity and the people who built America. Because there's a lot of levels of different people out there. Some make a lot of money, some don't make as much. And years back, many people didn't make it at all. There was only a 13 of elites who actually fit into that criteria that always received and made money. And they were the ones who ruled the global economy. And, we are just normal people with needs, and they're not being met. They're being met all around us. That's the sad part. We are at an empath of a reflex where nothing is getting better for the ones who are truly suffering through the demise of what we are seeing on all the actions being taken through the administration right now. Maybe they got a bigger plan coming, like that check you just mentioned about 2000, or when Elon Musk said we could afford to give every human being in America $5,000. None of these things happen, but you got to also remember and think back. What created the divide between Trump and Elon? And Trump never doubled down, dogged him, and neither did Elon Musk. But there was something that they weren't agreeing on, and I think it was how it was to help all of the American citizens in some way or another, not just by discounting trillions of tax dollars to billionaires and trillionaire companies. But that is part of the fascism of what we go through on how people who are in certain criterias together doing certain things make money. But we should not be forgotten, and that $2,000 check would help people immensely.
Of course.
But I don't know if we're going to see anything like that actually occur, Dave. It doesn't seem feasible for him to do something if it's not necessary, because people aren't crying loud enough to say, hear us louder. They're not going to protest saying, Mr. President, we need a little bit more help. Please try to acknowledge us. I mean, we can do it in a kind way, break bread with the guy in a different way through verbalization and words that are helpful for someone not to forget the ones left behind in this gray area.
Well, we're probably not going to see it because our government's going to use it to fund whatever they fund.
Well, then what's the trillions of dollars it came in any good for, to where it's basically it's the party of the American people who own the business deal that Trump made for the tariffs. It's our money.
Yeah.
All of it, not his. All of it is our money. He utilized the position to create the money. Thank God he did. Now, how are we going to use it? How are we going to use it? We're going to put some aside for, bailing ourselves out of the Fed, or are we just going to demolish the Fed?
Well, I hope we're going to get rid of the Fed.
And we're going to come up with the Donald Trump $100, $1,000 method bills. I don't know.
Well, I've understood that the job of the Fed is just to keep us in inflation for years, because that's how they discuss the debt that we have. I would rather that they just tell us we owe $38 trillion, and we all get together and write our portion of it, pay it off.
Well, I mean, still, they got their way. And one of the things that the Rothschild, Rockefellers, and more, Crossarians, all understood that we're in bed together is if you could rule the banking industry against the government, you own the country. Ha. Well, yeah. No. And then go back and think about this. How did the Fed, the mysterious vote for the Fed, come into play? Then you have to go back into some biblical content that's not really biblical, but it's a biblical scenario of mystery. And that would be the sinking of the Titanic, if in fact it wasn't the Olympia. So that's a true story there, too. That's another can of worms. Mm-hmm. But when you see how many people booked a certain room and then canceled it repeatedly, and the boat sinks, and the people that were going to vote down the Fed all wound up dead at the bottom of an ocean, And the ones who walked off the boat or never made it to the boat voted it in play. Why? Because of my last comment that I just made.
Right.
And I even have those articles behind me in the newspaper where other stuff confirms it.
People didn't listen. I mean, I know the numbers were great to make it look like people listened, but I'm just at a point that, we've told people things for 6 years and tried to make sure that we jumped through this hoop and that hoop and got it out to everybody, but did anybody listen?
I think people did, and I think I owe a lot of people an apology because I fought 3 times hard for what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize to people because I think a lot of things have been duped. And again, everything that we've seen has taken precedent to a different direction of what we thought would occur and come, and what would be supported with ethical discipline. And we're not seeing it. We're seeing verbalization from Donald that is like just out there. Like, I'll take out a whole civilization. Listen, the whole thing is this, Dave, when it comes down to it. I know we're trying to fight to keep America clean, free of illegal immigration and all this. But why didn't we do it 120 years ago when they brought the Chinese families in to be the miners, or the Serbians, or the black population? And some of them were very, very well constructed divisions of cultures. The black people made their own community, their own city. You don't hear about these stories, but they did exist. A black mayor who ran a city, who owned a newspaper, who owned a hardware store, and many other people within that culture were doing the same things. The government found a way to come in and to just basically destroy a way of life for these people who were actually paying taxes, being good common folk to America, fighting in the same wars that white people did, who are now considered to be the white supremacists. If we are, it's because how the government has pushed the white population into an area that you call that name too. And that's because, yes, 90% of the white population were the ones who fought the wars and went to kill. And I watched also some time back, and I mean, looking and researching into old videos where they went directly to military personnel and said, if you had to fight all over, would you feel good enough to do it and say it had good reason? You know what? Every one of them said, I would not fucking fight this fight for these people again. So it makes you wonder why that would be. Maybe it's because Agent Orange was, dusted all over them, and they were just really test guinea pigs. But remember, men in suits are the true monsters that guide us. We know war makes money, but it doesn't always resolve a problem, because if it actually had, Dave, think about this. What about Desert Storm and all these other and all the soldiers having to be reactivated, not for one tour, not for 2 tours, not for 3 tours, and now we're back again trying to figure out the same system again. I don't think we're really worried about a nuclear weapon. What I really think is they're afraid they're going to expose us for having them, and we're trying to control them not to.
Right. I don't think we're going to be able, as much as we try, I don't think we're going to be able to curtail everybody, because even if you got rid of the Ayatollah in Iran, you're putting in a new regime and you're telling them they can't have the same weapon that we have to prevent the same things that we have, and I've said this all along, that everybody should have the same number as everybody. And then, because it only takes, I don't know how many, 1 bomb to blow each other up and eradicate the world as we know it.
A good portion of it would do it. Yeah, it would. But, so here we are in this dilemma. And where did it start? You probably want to go back to Hillary Clinton, the queen of uranium that sold it to Russia, where Russia provided it over to who? And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Russia wasn't doing it thinking about, a tactic of weaponry. But nuclear has a lot of purpose. It can have a lot of different types of productivity
Right.
if used for good purposes. Just like
Yeah.
AI, it can be
Yeah.
used for good or bad. But if you really want to blame the fall guy on why this is all happening, go see that bitch knock on her door.
Yeah.
And look at the millions she put in her pocket from doing it. No different than the
Right.
Anthony Weiner laptop. Why are we still protecting this shit? Why did the first lady come on? What is she trying to dictate to America of a narrative of
Yeah.
whateverness? We know for a fact that some of the things that she said do not correlate with the actual pictures that were produced. And they have to always remember this, and this is where they falter and fuck up. They forget that normal, common people like you and me or our wives or our girlfriends, whoever, may have worked these parties and may have even been asked to hold up the camera to take the picture shot.
Yeah.
They forget that they do it and that these people still have this stuff themselves. So that's the popular 90s theme party stories. And they all have made mistakes and left themselves exposed to the American people. But yet they're saying now, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. It's all a lie. It's CGI. It's AI. No, but you know what? They opened the window for all this to happen, and now with that comes the data centers. What about Pfizer now? We're not gonna study the American people. We're not going to spy on them, and yet Donald Trump just asked for everybody to take a look at this new, bigger picture of let's continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the data centers are important. That's how they will track it. But again, is it all about something even bigger there? Is it really political? And are we only seeing half of what we're seeing for a different purpose? Sometimes I wonder if it's really not about an ELE event, if you know what that is. You know, it's an extinction level event because they're trying to suffocate us with global warming and all these other things. The president himself says it's a hoax. I'll tell you it's a hoax. I think I said it before he did. For 20 some years. But the point is, you know, if they do something, they study us with something. And how everything weighs in on that is within our reactions, our instincts, and this is what the data centers are about. Collecting it and trying to come up with a new collective that gives us better reasoning on how to move forward. But there is no good moving forward, Dave, when we have no freedom and privacy.
No. I mean,
the truth is, we're still heading there.
Yeah. No, they just build a bigger data center and take more information about us and what the hell they do with it. I don't know. You know, you listen to Tulsi Gabbard. You know, let's talk about the Department of National Intelligence. You know, she must have it going both ways. You know, she must know who the bad guys are, but then again, she must know who the good guys are, and that's all we hear about. And then you see Nancy Pelosi on the internet today going, well, we knew Eric Swalwell was a bad guy a long time ago. Well, then why did we use it? Why did you use it?
I don't know, diversionary measures. Just to make us think harder or to make Washington think differently about situations of different agendas and narratives. It's hard to say. You can't speculate on everything because we're not within that inner circle.
No. And last night, you know, I said they told us ivermectin was no good for COVID-19, but they came out yesterday or the day before and said ivermectin is now a cancer cure.
Well, that's been out there for 3.5, 4 years also on that. And people were using that in these healer people that were studying medicine in a different way because pathogens and parasites are the biggest issue of why we develop these bulging gardens for them to fester in our bodies. Mm-hmm. And we are basically a human incubator for it if it's connected to us through some type of something where our body and immune system becomes low, things attach to us, fungals, all kind of things. I mean, you have bugs all through your eyes. You have them up in your sinuses. They're in your ears, eye, ears, nose, and throat. So remember, this is how that works. And where are we now since the vaccination? And the placebos of the vaccinations and how they hit it into the population. Because if they would have went big, it would have been a mass ELA event with human hand intervention to do it, which we already still know that it's true. I mean, how many of us have lost family members days after the vaccination? I know in my family there was 3. So it happened immediately following, not before, after, following receiving the vaccination.
They seem to be open about going back to like 2018. Bill Gates was saying, it's to reduce the world population.
Yeah, exactly. Out of his mouth.
I don't know how clear that can be. We're going to reduce the population by whatever percent it was. I don't remember. And, you're going to be better off. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm dead, I guess I would be better off.
Right.
But
right. No, right. I agree 100%. Same with his wife coming out, talking shit on him and Epstein and more. I mean, if people cannot see where the proofs are and nothing's being done for arrest and so forth, then we as people, and not me being one of them, are just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that there still isn't some type of goodness or possible
there is.
To avenge us and all the devastation of crimes on humanity coming in a different way, in a different path from a different episode that will come. But right now, it just doesn't look like, and I just don't feel it. I just don't wake up and feel it, because when I wake up, I feel what I post. It's like I have this download system of, I need to say this. Yeah. I don't even read about it. I just put it there in my words and terminology. The way I do is to keep people focusing on the whole big picture, not just one cyclement of what is truly going on, if in fact it's even existing.
I meet a lot of people who just tell me they don't want to hear about the politics anymore.
They don't. Don't. You're right.
They just don't want to know about the politics. No one talks about the beautiful red roses that they have in their yard. No one talks about the home run their kid hit. No one talks about the video game they played that they got good at. It's just.
I get it. And, in terms of ways and knowledge, even when Zuckerberg and Gates were sitting in the White House, I was appalled knowing that they were sitting in the People's House of America after all they did and constructed to do against us. And here now, an agreement of opposition for Trump has come into play through Facebook. So do for Biden, we'll do the same for Trump. And that's how the system works. A system of corporations works the same way it will work with the president of the past and a new president within the future, because they don't want to lose out on a dime.
Well, that's what I'm starting to think, that maybe that's what he got impressed with. Mark Zuckerberg saying, I'm going to spend $500 billion or however much he said this year, building new data centers and working on the Facebook infrastructure. And that, I think, impressed Donald Trump. So Donald Trump went to the American people and said, hey, this guy's going to donate, he's going to make $500 billion worth of investment into Facebook, and your life is going to be better again, so use it. But you know what? By the same token, I don't understand why he didn't do it all with Truth Social. Right. It's almost like he built a social media network so he could have a place to go and talk when he wanted to talk.
I guess that could be partially true.
And I wonder if he wonders what he's going to say before he sits down and makes a speech. I mean, I still very much would love to meet the man and spend a day with him, but what are you going to learn now? What not to say, what not to say it, or what to say, but the right place to say it. You know, if you're just telling the people what you think they want, we're not going to get any better. You're not going to get any better, and the next one's not going to get any better.
And I don't think the people of America should ever keep anything deep inside themselves rather than voicing it out. If they see a potential problem or have a potential concern that needs answered to.
Mhm.
And I don't like how I'm seeing a communistic way of uh, where we're seeing some of the actions being led through the administration right now of what's the new right and what's the new wrong. Because none of them are equal to being equal. They are either right or they are either wrong. Many things, you know, going into the primary and the election of, you know, Donald getting back into office was all about patriotism being the cause. And it was. And if enough of it showed strength to make a weaker party stronger than his opponent, it was utilized in more ways than one than people would ever imagine. And patriotism is how we are now. Support me, I'll get us in, I'll get us out. And we see failure and fault within that too. But I'm just saying, everything and every attack they ever put on this man got him into the White House
Right.
through our doing of feeling sorry and the hardships that he was suffering. But what I want every American to think about, if they ever hear this or hear it 100 years in the future,
Mhm.
how much did he really suffer and how much was really pre-planned?
I don't know. I wonder. I often wonder about the 34 felonies that Judge Warren Mershon got to find him guilty. It doesn't matter if he goes to court and all 34 are appealed, thrown out, or
Right.
just mystically go away. Still, Judge Mershon got his chance to nail him, and he did for 34 felonies.
But what did
And
that do in the end game? What did it do for anybody? We have a
it really,
president that's a felon.
it really didn't do anything. But if you or I did
Oh yeah,
the 34 felonies, we'd be rotting in a jail cell, or worse.
right.
You know,
So psychological warfare is damaging in many ways, and even within my words that I used tonight, maybe some things you said, probably not as much as mine. But look, I'm only trying to say to people, wake up, smell the coffee, enjoy the roses, and really do the research. And I'm not saying we hate this man,
no,
and I'm not promoting that.
no,
Like I said, I fought as hard for him, and I apologize if I was wrong for anything that I truly believed he would have helped cure. But we're not seeing anything being cured to where it truly helps the American people. We
no.
are now in a place that is going above and beyond the Biden administration, and that is pure fucked up. And
It
there's no
is.
other simple way to put it.
It is. You know, there's some screwed up people. Hunter Biden is now in Cape Town, South Africa, supposedly, and but at the same time, he's in hot water, I guess, for owing his lawyers a lot of money that he doesn't have. And the
Well,
question
Kamala
to
Harris
me
did
is,
the same thing in her bid for election for president. Look how many millions she screwed people out of that never got paid.
oh, she screwed people out of $1.2 billion, is what I heard.
Yeah, huge money.
Yeah, and that's huge money. But I mean, this is like for legal expenses and everyday lawyer fees, he owes them something like $16 million, and he's out of the country. I'm guessing because he doesn't have it, and there's no extradition treaty to send him back to face the music. How long do we keep doing this? Letting these people run up. If you or I ran up $16 million, $1 billion that we owed somebody and we didn't pay it back, they'd do whatever they could to fix that. You know,
Yeah, they come after everything we had to our name, and plus be waiting for more.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it, it's the everything Trump said a justice system with an injustice system.
Yep.
And it's the warfare of government. And I wish we could change it. I wish we could abolish the left and the right together and start fresh in some new way. Maybe the children of the future will be around long enough to be able to do something and come up and coordinate something that big that will take over everything and somehow try to fix it.
They might be able to fix it years from now when they're our age or even before they're our age, but we won't fix it in our lifetime.
No,
it's like,
we're not going to see
it's
anything.
like I go to bed a lot thinking our youngest granddaughter is coming up on 2 years old, and she doesn't have any idea what $37 billion is, and by the time she's my age, it's going to be higher than that.
Yeah. I don't even know what $37 billion is. You don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is until it's in your hand because you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Of course, you're told if you win the lottery and it's $10 billion, you're going to need investments to protect it. And that's not true. I mean, if I was to win that money, if I was the one to win money like that, the last thing I would do is trust it in other people's hands. But what do you do with it? That's the whole concrete question. Because nobody can truly advise you in a good way if you decide to just say, I will never need for nothing. I don't have to do anything. I could sit and watch it do whatever I want. That's not the answer that they look for because that's why your phone rings the next day through people you never talked to before a day in your life who are trying to hunt you down to say, I know the best way for you to invest your money.
Yeah.
And that's what this QFS and all this other bullshit is too right now. Yeah. Just as an example.
I don't understand it. I don't understand what is it, Nasara and Jasara. You know, they just sounds like gibberish to me.
Yeah, Nasara, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's all the same line of bullshit.
You know, they only put money, negotiable instruments into our system because we felt we had to feel that we were giving something and getting something. And if it wasn't for that, we'd probably not have money.
Well, you have to understand how it works, Dave. So say somebody got a hold of you or me, one of us won the lottery, and suddenly they see a connection between the person or company that contacted you and $1 billion gets invested into Elon Musk. What happens the next day?
It's gone.
No, it's not gone.
Okay.
It grows. The stock goes
through
the roof because somebody just put $1 billion into a big company or a small company, and suddenly they are on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll make the Elon Musk companies a lot bigger than they are, and they'll take you along the way for doing it.
So how was the collectors and gatherers near Trump not getting the same analogy of benefit when Trump endorsed them or a product in some mannerism or way? He took them to the top, and that was Dan Bongino. It was Pam. It was all of them. Everybody who surrounded the first click of the 2016, made something huge out of themselves because there was a monetary value of the game being played within from the White House and being personal to the president.
So Todd Branch becoming acting attorney general right now. Whoops, wait a minute. Hold on.
That's that time.
It is that time. So let me just turn around and kill this. They're all off. And excuse me for a minute while I...
swallow those harmful...
swallow those things that Monsanto said life without chemicals would be no life at all. So...
Yeah, right.
I don't even think they make half the stuff they used to make any. But I can remember on Sundays watching cartoons as a kid, and you'd see the Archer Daniels Midland commercials and think, "Oh, whoa, great! We're feeding the entire world." with
Yeah.
what we make. You know, now we're starving the entire world
Yeah.
because they don't think like us, or we're going after the entire world because one person says we need to go after these people. And, I just keep thinking if we get 1% or less of our oil from them, which means that we probably get nothing from them, why are we doing all of this? That it took him months to get the world behind him because most of the world didn't want to go this way because they were probably thinking, well, if we join you, they're going to attack us. What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Well, there's a method to the madness of, well, I'll just say that because it takes too long to
Yeah,
describe something that you have to break down 100 different ways because of 100 different actions that then turn into another 1,000 different things.
yeah,
But money is money, and who has it are the ones that are the more important ones. It's not because what you've learned or what you hear, like 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, they said Elon Musk was the richest man in America. The truth is, or in the world, I apologize, in the world,
yeah,
the truth is, he's so far under the trillionaire list, it's pathetic. He's doing well. He's
yeah.
gotten very good contracts. He showed initiatives and good projects
You got
for the future, Starlink and a lot of other things that
they
he was able to establish.
they like
But
what he's doing at the Elon Musk company so much they're paying him $1 trillion for this year.
well,
No American has ever. Well, he's not an American. He's a South African American,
South
but
African Canadian American.
South African Canadian American. You're right, but I don't think anybody in the history of the world, other than maybe some king who inherited it all from some other king, this man got out of bed, slept in the factory, from what people say, different companies, and I
And
can't
he
even imagine getting $1 trillion paycheck.
and he wasn't truly the brain of the technology, but
No,
he knew how to open up the encyclopedia book and find the ones that would be most relevant to work with him to get to the pinnacle that he's achieved.
but
And
did
he
you?
did it. He did it by brain smart. From behind a desk. From
But
behind a desk. If you think about that, we're behind a desk right now, right?
yeah,
If we could change how we do things and just become creative and have a way to be able to collect and gather people like that for future references and purposes, we could probably do the same
oh
thing. But he came
yeah,
into play in it with DARPA and other people in other divisions of military
right.
and so forth, having the desire for certain types of things and possibly some of the things that we acquired.
Yep.
This acquiring thing has what's guided us to this point. Crash retrievals, you know, figuring out the engineering processes and programs,
Yep.
how they work, how waters, liquids work with them. And there's things that we don't know about, but I mean, there's a lot of things that we do know about. And they're starting to talk about some of those things too, as well, when it gets into the ufology end of it and how it may be tying in. Because it's a networking of what you know, not really always who you know,
Right.
but the knowledge of what you know, the consciousness of knowledge. And when you have that and understand it, I think it works in a better placement for who, what, where, when, and how for it to proceed forward. The one thing that I often wonder why, Dave, is why did they make this on-ground surface data center so enormous on land when they could have went underground and kept it totally secretive? That's part of a system that
Oh,
I
they
don't
wanted you to see it for some reason. I don't know what that reason is.
bingo.
They wanted you to see it. They
Maybe
want
it's maybe
they
it's just and it's nothing, and there's something bigger.
they wanted they wanted to see it, you to see it in your local town. They wanted to see it, you to see it in your county. They wanted you to see it in their state. If you went into another state, they wanted to see another one. And now you have states fighting for them. The only one you don't have fighting for it is AOC, who had the option years ago for Amazon in New York City, and she said no. And I don't know why she said no, because she would have, if she said yes, she was going to give it all to them anyway, whatever they asked for, because that's what people in New York wanted.
Well, they're getting handed everything they wanted.
Well, they're getting handed everything they wanted, but at the expense of the New Yorkers who have the money that are staying in New York City, unlike Robert the Zero, as I call him, who says that he wants to leave, but you never hear him say, "I'm leaving."
Yeah.
You just hear him saying, "Oh, I spent all my money to get this guy elected, and he's just up the wazoo with me, and but I guess I'll stay." It's like today I heard $30 million for the grocery stores that will be Zohan Mamdani's free grocery stores to people. But now they're going to build it, then they're going to get you to come work for them. And how are you going to get paid? Are you going to, because you now as a New York City resident will be able to go into that grocery store and take whatever you need.
And maybe it's by volunteering, in a way, a community whereby money is no longer important, because if you don't have it, you won't need it, as the old saying once was said, and if they could be some type of structure where they could prove it could work, which I say it'll never work, because people are always going to demand more of the future things, needs, and material items to keep life exciting for them and their desirability to live on a higher level. Isn't that what we strive for as kids? We wanted to work, pump gas, or deliver newspapers to save for a car. No different. But maybe what they're trying to do is break down half of the community of citizens is saying, if you do so much here, it will give you more here. And that's where the allowances will come in. And then they will recollaborate a system of people that worked within the network, and they'll get rid of the other ones and expunge them from the record that didn't want to be involved from it, so they can create this harem effect of you'll need nothing and be happy. And maybe that is how the system of the down will really truly work for New York City.
It's just messed up, because we already know the benefits of a barter system, but a benefit of a barter system run by the federal government is not a barter system, because you don't need the federal government. You don't need banking government in barter, and you can get everything you want.
But the government needs to be in partnership with you on everything, including your marriage. That's why you had to get a license.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be granted a dissolvement of divorce in that marriage. So they know how to tax you appropriately. So whether you sell Kool-Aid at a stand, which they used to object to in Pittsburgh here, they used to make children take the Kool-Aid stand off on a 105-degree day, put it away. You're not allowed to do it. It's against the law. You don't have the permits. You're not old enough. And for a garage sale, if you have so many items over a certain dollar amount, you have to pay taxes on those. Jaywalking was the only thing we got away with, because them stupid asses who invented the fine. It was actually a tax fine, not just a fine, but a tax fine as a taxable offense.
Yeah.
So, and it worked, but it didn't work. And the police were like, I ain't doing this to the people. But until we come out of that rut and hole, and they keep allowing this other frivolous bullshit to happen, it's not going to help us. But right now we're in a war of the blue states versus the red states. Yes, there may be a majority in Keller in the red, But the
Yeah.
blue states are getting away with everything they wanted to do
Right.
to the citizens who built those cities.
Right. You know, Tim Walz in Minnesota evidently he won the right to stay as governor instead of being impeached and thrown out. And what's his name? Keith, the Attorney General, uh, won his won his case too. He did too many Democrats voted, and he's not out.
Yeah.
Neither one of them are out, and they bankrupted that state.
Yeah. Well, but mysteriously, nothing ever gets bankrupt. It's good
Well,
to hyperinflate a story as well as a number, and that's what everybody on both sides are good for.
well, that's what a guy named Carl Shapiro told me once. He said, I didn't lose. He said, I lost all that money on paper with Bernie Madoff, but I lost it on paper. It's not like I ever had it and I could do anything with it. And it did affect what I'm going to do in the next year because I don't have it. But, you know,
What you're describing to me is what the outlook for digital currency could become, and why the vast majority of the American people were so against tracking systems. But meanwhile, it's not that they inject you with something as some type of component, electronical component that can track you, but it's about how they started it. And everything was done. Trackers were first put in animals. They seen how the successes work.
They'll chip us if they haven't already chipped us. They will chip us at some point.
Yeah, and then you have digital currencies, which are debit cards. Everything had a rebranding that came into the 20s.
Yeah.
In the 19s, it looked like this. This is what was said. In the 20s, now it's looking like this. This is what's being done. And here we are in what's being done. And a new, more modernized future for America. But it brings me back to that possible occurrence of an ELE. Why are they doing everything they're doing? What happened to Drill Baby Drill? And why is everything else so more important and getting so much more support? Well, I could go over that and give you a breakdown of different, ethnicities, I can't say the word right, and cultures and so forth of different countries where there is a manner of stabilizations of how you can control a country by giving to a country while you occupy a country. And that's what Trump wants to do. He wants papers that he has occupied the country for his control as a helpful procedure for them to have proper growth and the new advancements of the future. And without that, he has nothing. That's why he was calling them for support. He wanted to know who his true allies were versus his non-allies. And it all works together that way, but it's a bigger breakdown than that. It's quite complex. But I think if he's going that way, he's looking to disband the wealth of some of these families the best way he can. Is he achieving it? These are the parts of the puzzle that we don't know. And it's not really a 5D chessboard. It's not a 10D chessboard. We just don't know the avenue of that and the true outcome of what it could be and how much better it might get. The point is, though, I think we're going to have something occur that's going to be, as he said, if I have something truly bad to say to the American people, I'd rather not say it at all. But you can't leave us in the dark if it comes to a living and survival system that we need to understand how to prepare for. But he won't do it. And maybe that's why we're not getting all the answers. But it also brings into the complexity of the situation that an event such as that size, we would need things on the surface of the ground to analyze the system of everything of the devastation, to understand and possibly then help to inject themselves into how they could, as a government, truly, not as Reagan said, run from them if they tell you they're here to help you. But maybe at that point, enough logic and means would be in place to be able to get us out of something that's catastrophic.
Yeah, everything's catastrophic. That's the problem.
It all comes down to the event. And we've had many here, and we know that we had, and it's changed things. Some go back to the dinosaurs and say, well, this happened and it killed them all. And how do we know it just wasn't a race of aliens that came down and said, we want the earth? We're going to restart the program over. You're right. You're right. You're right. That's not the brontosaurus is that, the pterodactyls that, and they removed them all.
Maybe that's where we are. We just haven't realized that the end for us is coming, and because we don't want the end of us to come, but the end of everybody comes. I mean, how long has this planet been here?
Well, I don't know if anybody really has precise, exact, numbers on that. What you ask, I know I don't,
Right.
but I do know when we have seen different events, and how we see that is in the geological formation. You'll see different layers that represent different occurrences of different things, like all these different lines that build up. You'll see the change in them. You'll go from silt to mud to clay to gravel, and etc. And then the list goes on. So we know we've seen world events that had occurred. We don't know the reason as to why or what or where. It's the same as we don't know what's on the other side of the dark side of the moon, but maybe we do. Maybe there really was an Apollo 20 that they speculated and mistakenly mentioned that went up and found what they call the Mona Lisa at a crash retrieval site on the moon, and found bridges and found other building structures that they're not allowed to talk about, that John Lear used to talk about, because before they realized that the public was looking into their back door windows at pictures, they went in and they started to what? Papercraft them. They started to paint things out of the pictures so they looked abnormal, when we in fact can look at them and we can actually see and understand that the fact that we're looking at a lot of man-made things. And where did they come from? Well, the pictures are evidently from, these voyagers that went around the moon and were taking pictures and coming back. And now today, over the last week, you're hearing about things of like, well, we got there faster the first time in 69, and now here we're in 2026, and it took us a day and a half longer to get there. And how do we hold the fuel? This thing is not big enough to hold the fuel. So when you look at the fuel capacity, the same as a jet airline, a commercial airliner, they hold 66,000 gallons of where?
Yeah.
Where? And what wing? Which part of the plane is invisible that we can't see that's doing this? You know what I mean? The same as with 9/11. A hollow piece of aluminum destructively tore down a building, and its fuel helped it get there, which couldn't even burn or to incinerate the steel in the magnitude that it dissipated into the ground.
I still don't understand how a plane going that fast can lift off the ground and fly when I weigh 184 pounds and I can't jump off a building and fly.
Well, I understand your point there, and gravitational effects. But again, looking at not what you said and taking it off the table, but, when you look at some of the true commonalities of repeats of things we see, man is more responsible than we give them credit for. And I'm not saying men of other countries, I'm saying within our own country. And they are the true villains, man. And people need to understand that. And I wish we could come to some type of betterment. I don't know if we ever will, Dave, but we need a different system. We do need a different system. And we need a system that's honest, that's put into place, that's guaranteed. If you put me in here, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. It's not about 200 executive orders that are not doing anything to interject to truly help something of what was promised. And every day you avoid it again and again. But you go down the list and you itemize it and you give it to your constituents and the cabinet and the administration, who then goes to Congress and says, this is what we want you to work on. But this is what we want you to get there. This is what we need you to get past. And if we can get things like that done, we'll become a more civilized nation called America. Back to, again, a reality of the purpose of what the Constitution and the men, as well as some of the other articles that were written in representation for the people, we the people. Because
Yeah,
remember, we are the people,
we
but they
are.
don't give it to us because they want us never to have control.
No, no. They took it away from us, and we probably will never get it back.
No, and they don't want you to get it back.
Yeah,
The system now is about who can be in power, who can create a name.
yeah. Well, I hope
What
you.
else is on your mind, brother?
I hope you create a name, Michael.
You hope by what?
I hope you create a name because I tried to, and it's been 6 years of my life, and I don't know where it is.
Let me tell you something, Dave. When I hit 1,000, I thought I was doing good.
Yep.
When I hit 10,000, I was like ecstatic, and it's such a minimal number when you look at people followed by millions. I hit 100,000 one time, but right under it, getting it out there really well. People giving it thumbs up. Whether they really looked at it all, I don't know, but they did interact in a positive way. And you would think with impact like that, the guests that I've had, it would have taken me to a different helpful place for America and for some of the other things I talk about. But it actually got me nowhere, and I did nothing. Yeah, I did. I'm mentioned in books. Yeah, I've written them. Yeah, I've done TV work. I've worked in movies. Yeah, I did this. I did music. I did this. I did that. But you know what? I never got anywhere to do anything. It just wasn't for me. It's not in my deck of cards. And I'm okay with that because I don't care if I'm here today and I don't care if I'm here tomorrow. In life I want to be here, but I'm talking about doing this type of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel I can do better if 5 people hear me or 1 people hear me because that was my method of madness. I only need 1 person to hear what I have to say and I'll let it go from there.
Yeah.
But that truly doesn't even always seem to work as well.
No, we got fooled into thinking that because the big boys and girls have hundreds of thousands of listeners, that we have to have hundreds of thousands of listeners too. I mean, I wish we could get that, and but I don't control the algorithms, so I don't understand how they work against me. But I do know that if they were accurate in telling us all what we were getting, they might not be as wealthy as they are by the time they got done paying us all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? I have no regrets, and let the chips fall where they may. Let whatever happen happen. I gave my opinion. I gave an analogy more than an opinion.
Yep.
I try to create the facts, find the facts to be able to express the posts that I do and make the conversations that I make.
Yep.
It's not really up to people to do their own due diligence more than rely on us because that's how the Build the Platform grew. Anybody that surrounded himself by Trump became wealthy and rich. Okay? It's the same way if you support a rock legend or a mad scientist or anybody else that's in some type of field as an expert. But they're the ones that only get bigger and better. And it's not the people that helped them get there. They're not the ones that are remembered. Not truly. At the end of the day, it's the guy eating the steak and the lobster who has no worries about having to pay bills the way that we do.
Yep.
Normal, common people that live off maybe $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a month that really can't make ends meet when you look at how much your utility bills are, your mortgages or your rent is, your insurances, your health care if you need it or you don't need it, or they'll take it off your Social Security off the top because it's a mandatory health issue. You must do it, just like Obamacare. What is different about Medicare or Medicaid when you're forced to comply to have it? You can't say, look, I need the $300 a month to live off and to have food. I can't afford to have the health care. Right. You have to have the health care or you'll lose your Social Security.
But why do we have to have it?
It's a trap. Everything is a trap. Every design of government is another way to make you pay more, to have you suffer more, and for them to be able to tax you more in a different way. What you can bring home in a paycheck, take another 15 to 20% off that in taxations and other profitable margins, like gasoline. How did they know to tax gasoline so high? Because they knew how many cars were on the road. They did the statistics on it. They understood if we crack them at least a half a dollar on every gallon, we're going to become some of the richest states in the world, but they'll tell you they're still broke.
Yeah. So where's it all go?
Well, that's the whole point. Same with the lottery to benefit senior citizens.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, dude, but I bet any money you could use another $1,000 a month from all that money they've collected the past.
Oh, I'm sure I could.
It's in the trillions.
Yeah.
Where is that money that's in the trillions? It's nowhere. It was purposefully used on what? We don't have that answer. We'll have to look it up the same way NASA had to look up how to get back to the moon.
It was supposed to help the schools, but we don't want to talk about what.
No, it was always to help. I'm not saying schools weren't in the picture.
Oh, they were. They were, but not in the way that you're thinking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Yeah, well, there's a lot of evil in the world, and we're not going to change that. It's like when people talk about, and I laughed at something today, and I made a comment to it, and I'm surprised 100 people didn't kick me in my balls for it. But somebody put up a post about how devastating it is for people to live in Iran, and they're pedophiles, they kill this, they do that. And I'm saying, what part of America is in the same bed with that?
Right.
You just won't admit it. You're blaming the other country for everything that's happening here in our own country. I pointed that out in a very nice, kind way, just saying, look, let's not throw rocks at glass houses. We live in one of these places.
Yep.
I mean, we're fighting against human trafficking and prostitution and homeless people and everything else that, is taking place. But yet they only see blame to point it where it is if a man in a suit creates an action for it to happen like that. We have too many people with their heads up his ass.
Got too many suits.
Start saying, what about us? Well, this is where the benefits work, Dave. Keep this in mind. The benefits are working around the ones working, not the ones who worked and retired. The retirees are the ones that are no longer get them off the table, get them off the planet. We need to keep the motivational circle moving. And that's where it becomes really sad because that's a true fact of what they do. All of them are guilty of doing that, except for the ones who are in place holding the card and are all wealthy. And that's another thing we should take off the table. Never put anybody of wealth back into a presidential seat.
No.
We need common people to run this country with logic.
Yeah.
Not money, not influence, not with friends, not with ones who can take somebody out.
No. And we don't need people that are making $174,000 a year that are going to make, I don't know, when next year comes along, they'll probably make $200,000 a year.
And look at their retirement plans.
And they get that. They approve all of that before they even do anything. So you don't even know if they're worth, it's not that they might be worth $200,000. It's just they want it up front. They want it up front before they do anything.
Right. Yeah.
And the calendar gets shorter for them every year. And the calendar gets longer for us every year.
It does. And, it's not in a better way. And
No,
it just isn't. When I look at the overall, we're in a terrible place.
Yeah, we are in a terrible place. Well, let's see. I know you got to probably wind it up. We're at 8:30, so we're, we can keep going till 9 if you want, or we can call it and send you on your way.
You look like you're kind of tired.
I'm always look like I'm tired. That's the effect of the pills I put in my mouth. But anyway.
Well, look, I hope I gave you something to think about a little bit from a different perspective. And I may not be right in everything, but I just believe in the freedom of speech. And I think everybody else should do the same things that we do or try to and express themselves and get their heads out of their ass about being afraid to have an opinion or being afraid to speak freely because they crushed that from us. Everything that happened since and prior to COVID, but since that surrounding date, it has just destroyed America.
Yep. All right.
All right, get out of here, dude. I'll talk
I'll
to you later.
get out of here. All right. Thank you, Michael.
All right, later, brother.
Thanks for coming. Let's see. What are we doing here? Oh, wait. That's how you do it. Do it this way. All right. Michael Anthony from 10 o'clock talks. Glad to have him here. We talked about a bunch of different things, and I hope you got a chance to think. Take out that sheet of paper when you come and write the good, write the bad, and then when you get done, cross out the ones that don't need work, and that's what you work on. Larry Estes, good night to you, and everybody listen, things flew the way they should. If you share the broadcast on Facebook, you can take it from my profile and share it around. If you share it around the internet, you can go to the Boogie with the Bully YouTube channel and take it from there as well. That's where we were. We were on YouTube and we were on Facebook this morning. We also were on Streetlock. We'll thank them. And we were on X, and I'll thank them. And I think that's it today. Yep, we went to Streetlock and we went to X because for some reason we're finding a little bit less than 40 people are watching us on X for some reason, even though they get redirected off of X. So we may have to look at spending some more time on X and less time everywhere else we go. Anyway, I'm David Wogan and you're not. We're going to dismiss class and send you home. And the Mad Ravings of a Beardless Madman are done for this Thursday. We will be back next Thursday. We'll try to do it again. And we may also be on tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock because I talked to someone who couldn't come on tonight and would like to come on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So we might be on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. or not. So tune in and find out what happens. Anyway, I'm David Golden. You're not. We'll slide over here.